Hi, and welcome to this Vinyasa Flow for today's class. My name is Claire Thomas, and I am so excited that you are joining me today. If you'd like, as we get started here, you've got your mat. If you'd like any props, so if you've got any yoga blocks, sometimes we just use these to get the mat closer to our body to give us some support. So sometimes that can even be like a thick textbook, a stack of magazines. You can find something around the house. Also, if you've got a bolster or a blanket, sometimes a folded up washcloth, sometimes we like to pad underneath our knees. So take a few moments and get any of the props that you think you might like to use today. And then we'll get started in an easy seated pose. So I'm sitting on a cushion right here, a little yoga pillow, to elevate my hips off the mat. But feel free to just sit directly on the earth. And we're going to start to settle into our mat, settle into our body, the body we brought here to class today. So really root down whatever part of your body is touching the earth, right? You can imagine maybe some roots actually just sending down into the earth and gripping in and supporting you, giving you this stability. And then you can sit up nice and tall, elongate your spine and the sides of your neck. And then we'll find places to soften. So you can roll your shoulders down and back. Maybe you gently close your eyes, let your hands rest on your knees. And start to tune out the outside world and tune into your breath. So today's class physically will be focused on hips and twists. So getting some opening, creating some space in our biggest joint, and then working on spinal mobility and twisting. We're also going to be talking about setting your intention. So what does that mean? Setting an intention means to state what you intend to accomplish. So it's not really this wishful thinking, oh, I hope this happens. It's a willful direction. You're saying what you're going to accomplish, what you're going to focus on. Because what you put your focus and your attention on, that really, it draws your attention there. You put energy behind it. So some examples. And if you've already got an idea in your head of an intention that you want to set, feel free to focus on that right now. If you're looking for some motivation, it can be a phrase. I will be present during this practice. I will have fun during this practice. I will listen to my body. You can also just choose to focus on aligning yourself with a word, a feeling, a vibe, like love or freedom, strength. So choose what you're going to put your attention and your focus on for this practice. And hold that word, that thought, phrase, that intention in your mind. Pay attention to it. Repeat it to yourself a few times here. Because again, what we put our attention on, we put energy behind. We're creating this for ourselves. I will be present. I will have fun. You can gently open your eyes. We're going to take 3 big breaths together. These are going to be in through your nose and out through your mouth. And when you do it, we're really going to use these as cleansing breaths here. So Be loud, be proud. And on your inhale, you're going to draw your shoulders up towards your ears here. Exhale, drop the shoulders, release through your mouth. Beautiful. 2 more. One more. Draw in that air, fill up. Release it all out. Very good. Hopefully you feel a little lighter, a little looser. Even just taking a moment during your regular day when you're not in your practice to do a few breaths like that can feel really good. So if you had a cushion, you can remove it. We're going to start to move our body here. So again, put a focus on where you're touching the earth. Let yourself ground down and then grow tall. And we're going to start with some movements here that we're going to string together and get some flow. So we're going to inhale. And you're going to lift your arms up to the sky. Maybe your gaze goes there as well. On an exhale, right hand will come down to the mat. Left hand will reach up and over. And this first time through, we will pause just so we can try on these moves in our bodies today. I've got my pinky fingers rotating in and pointing down towards my mat. So we've got some rotation there throughout our shoulder. Chest is opening up to the sky. And then we'll breathe in, fill up your lungs. Exhale, side bend to the opposite side. My right hand is reaching up and over. My right hip is really rooting down. So resist that urge to rock up. We want to maintain that strong foundation with our mat. Take a breath in. This time on an exhale, draw your elbows down and back. Squeeze your shoulder blades together. We're cactusing our arms here. Feel an opening in your chest. Maybe your gaze goes up. Breath in, reach up. This time we're going to twist. Right hand is going to come behind you. My fingertips are tented here, so fingertips on the ground. Left hand is reaching for my right knee. And we're not forcing anything here, but you want to sit up nice and tall. It's almost as if a string was on your head here, helping to draw your crown towards the ceiling. And maybe you even continue that twist from your spine through your neck, bringing your gaze behind you. Maybe you even move your eyeballs to the right side of your eye sockets. This full body twist here. Inhale, we release up, and exhale, we'll twist to the opposite side. Remembering again this balance of using some gentle pressure of your hand on your knee to allow you to twist, but softening here. We don't want to be super tight, forcing, and rigid. And again, maybe you continue that twist, going as far as is comfortable for your neck, looking over your left shoulder. Maybe you even move your eyes all the way to the left side. Then we'll inhale, exhale, hands to heart center. We're going to do that flow again, and this time we're going to connect one movement to one breath. If at any time you want to pause and stay in one shape because you're digging it, then freedom to do so. And you can move along with me or freedom to move at your own pace. I'm just here for guidance. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, take a bend. Then our inhales will always be coming back to the center here. Exhale the other side. Inhale, and this time we're going to exhale, cactus your arms, shoulder blades squeeze. Inhale, remember that center is that reset to lengthen. This time we're going to twist. Breathe in, reach up, and twist. Come back to the center. Exhale, hands to heart center. Remember your intention. We'll start again. Side bend one way and then the other. Cactus arms here. And we've got our twist. Hands to heart center. Think of your intention one more time. Let's flow through. Maybe your movements feel a bit bigger now, as you're more confident in the shapes you're taking. Exhale, cactus your arms. Gaze can go up, throat open. And we'll twist. Maybe your twists are deeper. Reach up, gather that energy, come bring it down to your heart, Anjali Mudra, and we'll pause. Again, come back to your intention, whether it was a phrase or a word. What do you intend to accomplish with this practice? What will you focus on? Maybe it's just being here. Maybe it's taking the modifications or making changes to suit your body today. Now we're going to come onto all fours here. This tabletop position where we've got shoulders over our wrists, a nice soft bend in our elbows, hips over our knees. Now you can flatten out your feet and press into the top of your feet. I tend to keep my toes on the ground here. Now I have one really sensitive knee. So for me, that's a modification that I always make. By coming up, flexing my feet here, it takes some pressure off my knees. But if you'd rather uncurl your toes and press into the tops of your feet, freedom to do that. And when we're here, let's take some organic movement. Maybe you let your head hang heavy or you sway side to side. Then we can come into some hip circles. So it's like you're making circles here with your hips. So really just play around with your range of motion here. Starting to warm up our spine, drawing fluid between our vertebrae. And then we can move into a more traditional cat-cow when you're ready. So on an inhale, your belly drops, shoulders draw back, gaze looks forward or maybe even up. And on an exhale, you make a dome with your back here, pressing into your fingers, pulling your belly button into your spine. And then you can move through these two shapes. Again, adding in hip circles if that feels right. This is your practice, so take what you need. I'm going to take my right foot. I'm going to stretch it out behind me. I'm going to start to gently rock forward and back. So for me, this feels a lovely stretch in my foot and in my calf. You might feel this in your hamstring. Be mindful that we're not shooting our shoulders too far out over our wrists here. Find that meaningful sensation for you, and you can stay here. Or option to elevate your right foot, toes pointing down at your mat. And then if you want to add that extra balance challenge, and your left hand reaches out as if you were going to shake someone's hand. So fingertips are reaching in front of you. Heel is reaching behind you, toes pointing down. Gaze down at your mat. Loosen your jaw. And one more option here is to crunch in. So on an exhale, you draw your elbow to your knee. Inhale, we stretch back out. Exhale, crunch it in. Nice and slow and controlled. And we'll come back to tabletop. And if you want to take any movements to flush it out, any cat-cows or hip circles, freedom to do so. And we'll take our left foot back behind us. And again, that gentle rocking forward and back. And where do you want to put your attention? Again, maybe it's hamstring, maybe it's calf. I'm really feeling this great stretch in my foot, which I feel like in our society is an ignored part of the body until it's causing a problem. Let's give some love to our feet. And again, option to elevate your heel. My toes are pointing down at my mat. And this is an example of if you need some extra padding underneath your knee. That's where that roll-up washcloth or a folded blanket might be helpful here to give you some extra cushioning under your right knee. And if you want to take that right hand in front, shift so you can see me. We're really stretching, heel reaching behind you, fingers reaching up, and then you've got that option for those 3 slow crunches. Trying to keep your hips square down at your mat. Resisting the urge to tilt your left hip up. After your 3rd crunch, we'll come back to tabletop. And again, option to shake it out, any wiggle waggles that feel right here. And now we're going to add in some more twisting movement. Because remember, today we're focusing on hips and twists. So we're going to thread the needle. And we're going to stay on one side. So from tabletop, reset, flat back, joints stacked. Going to reach your right hand up to the sky. And then exhale, thread that arm underneath you, palm faces the ceiling. Shoulder can be hovering over your mat. Take it back up. Inhale, we reach up. Exhale, we thread it through. Again. One more time, the same side. And this time when we land, maybe you gently rest your shoulder onto the mat. Option to take your left hand and reach it up above your head towards the front of your mat. And if you're good here, you stay. Final option is to straighten your left leg, come up onto your toes, and use that to increase your leverage to twist open more towards the ceiling. And if that feels funky or too much, or you're dumping too much weight into your head or neck, then you just bring that knee back down carefully and come back to a position that feels right in your body. We'll come back to tabletop now, and we'll do that on our left side. Inhale, we reach up and open. Exhale, thread it down. Again, inhale, twist, open, fingers wide. Reach it through. One more time. And this time when we land, we stay. Remember, you can bring your right hand up above your head here. You can look up underneath your right armpit. And maybe you straighten your right leg. Balancing on your toes here to help peel your hip open towards the sky. A little bit different. Maybe your intention is to have some fun, so you're going to try. And the knee comes down, coming back into tabletop here. We're going to come into a low lunge. I'm going to step my right foot in between my hands, and then pressing into my front foot, I'm going to elevate my torso. I'm going to bring my hands to heart center today. This is another chance if you need some padding underneath that knee that's on your mat, freedom to do so. And if you want to extend your arms wide or do that cactus like we did in the beginning of class, also, you take that. I'm going to keep my hands at heart center here. Really press down into that front foot. Press into the top of your back foot as it lays against your mat. Breath in. Exhale. I'm going to twist to the right. This open arm twist here. Right hand reaching behind me. Hips staying square here. This twist is originating from your torso. And I'm just going to get back to a half split. So hands will come to the mat. Hips shift back. Toes pointing up at the sky. Right toes. Just continue to breathe. Feel like you're really leading this stretch with your chest here. So it's not that you're trying to dip your head down to your leg or force your chest down. You want your chest to be coming forward here. Feel that lengthening from the tailbone through the spine. Might feel a really great stretch across the back line of your right leg. And then we're going to walk our hands forward to the inside of our right foot. Hips come forward into lizard lunge. I've inched my left leg straight behind me. You have the option to curl your toes and elevate that back knee. Option to bring your forearms to your blocks or to your mat. We're going to take 5 breaths here. Energetically sinking your hips towards the earth. Neutral neck, gaze down at your mat. And we'll come back to tabletop. Right hand will stay planted. Right knee will stay where it is. Left leg will straighten behind. We're going to come into a modified side plank. If you want to take a side plank with your feet stacked, freedom to do so. I'm keeping my right knee on the ground here for support. I'm still really drawing my left hip up towards the ceiling. Reaching my fingertips up towards the sky. Maybe you look up. And then back to tabletop. We're going to take those shapes on the opposite side. Left foot will step forward. Remember, we're going to come into this low lunge. So really engage your core to lift your torso up. I'm going to bring my hands again to heart center. Does this side feel different from the other? Notice how you feel. I am noticing a pretty big contrast between this side and the other. So just notice there's no right or wrong, and we don't need to be detectives and figure out why we're feeling how we're feeling. We're just noticing and observing here. Breath in. Exhale, we'll twist open to the left. So this time your left hand reaches behind you as your right hand reaches in front. Soften through your face here. And then we'll send our hips back for that half splits, or maybe a full splits is in your practice. Freedom to take that. Maybe you've got blocks underneath your hands here to help elevate your chest a little more. Again, really feeling that lengthening from the tailbone to the crown of your head. And then we'll come forward into that lizard lunge. So both hands will be to the inside of the left foot. I walked my right knee back. And I'm staying up on my hands here with soft elbows. We don't want to lock out our joints. And if you wanted to explore, come down on your forearms or maybe forearms to a block, you could do so. Find a good spot, and we're going to stay for 5 breaths. Carefully come back to tabletop, and now we're going to take that modified side plank on the other way. So don't mind me with my back to you. But left hand, left knee, and toes will stay on the ground as you swing open your right fingers to the sky. Again, option to take a full side plank here. Draw your right hips up towards the ceiling. And then back to tabletop. From here, we're going to come into our first downward facing dog. You're going to come into a high plank, shoulders over hands, belly button in. Exhale. Send your hips towards the back of your mat. Again, we're making this upside down V shape with our body. Heels energetically drawing down towards the mat, but they don't have to touch. Maybe you've got a nice bend in your knees there if you've got tight hamstrings. And really press into your fingers. Take some of that weight out of your wrists. And then option to press your chest towards your thighs here. A deeper stretch in your shoulders. And then we're going to extend our right leg to the sky. Right heel, hips square, toes facing down. Bend your knee, open your hips. Three-leg dog. Press down through both your hands here. Especially your right hand if it's starting to lift up off your mat at all. Right leg straightens. And then we're going to crunch in, knee to nose. Inhale, right heel to the sky. Two more. Knee to nose. This time, draw your right knee up. Let your foot land between your hands. Back foot's going to spin down. We're going to come into warrior two. So you might have heard in the past, or I know I've heard before, that we want our feet, our back foot, to face the long edge of our mat. But sometimes doesn't feel great in terms of our lines of energy. So if you want to actually bring your back toes to a more of a 45-degree angle, then sink in to that right knee, so right knee is over ankle. Arms reaching in front and behind you, and then shift your torso back so that shoulder stacks over hip. So now your hips are facing that front left corner of your mat. But see if you can now feel that energy line going all the way from the knife edge of your back foot up through the sides of your body. So we want to utilize that energy, drawing it up from the earth and then feeling strong in this warrior pose. Inhale, you're going to flip that front palm, reach behind you, reversing your warrior here. So legs are staying where they're at. Left hand might slide down your back thigh. Continue to breathe. And then exhale, extended side angle. So right forearm is going to come in the inside of your right thigh, and left arm is going to reach up and over your head again. So similar to when we were side bending, my pinky finger is actually rotating in and pointing down at my mat. Some rotation here. I'm squeezing my shoulder blades together so my chest is facing up towards the sky. And now let's inhale, reverse your warrior. You might feel some sensation in your legs here. Exhale, side angle. Let's do that 2 more times. And if you need to come out of it and straighten your front leg, freedom to do so. And then come back in, join us. And we're going to come up, make this 5-pointed star here. All 10 toes facing the long edge of your mat, and then move forward, fold, this wide-legged fold. Let your head hang heavy. Maybe you've got your block here. Maybe you bring your forearms to your block. Letting gravity help to lengthen through your spine. Your left hand can plant and your right hand can twist up and open. And your hands switch, right hand comes down, left arm up and open. Then we'll come to face the back of our mat in a downward facing dog. Just reorient yourself. Left foot will come to the sky. Bend your knee, open your hip. And this is, you can also do this from tabletop if you don't want to spend too much time on your wrists. Remember, pushing into both your hands here, letting your foot hang heavy. We'll inhale our heel back up, 3 crunches here, knee to nose. Inhale, extend, exhale to crunch. On the third one, we'll land that left foot between our hands. Lift your torso. And again, remember, maybe your back toes are facing the long edge of your mat. Maybe they're turned in 45 degrees. Think of your intention here. Is it to be present to this moment? Is it to feel strong? To feel playful? Revisit your intention. Inhale to peaceful warrior. Lovely side body stretch here. Exhale to this extended side angle. You don't want to be dumping all your weight into your left arm here. And in fact, if you wanted a little challenge, you can try to lift your arm up. Ooh, feel side body engage, hip flexors. But you can use your arm against your leg to help twist you open more. So where our body parts touch and connect, we can use that to our advantage to deepen our poses. And then let's flow between those a few times. Inhale to reverse your warrior. Exhale to side angle. One more time. You're doing a great job. So we'll come back to this 5-pointed star. We're going to take another wide-legged forward fold, but this time we're going to, if you'd like, bind behind your back, clasping your hands. And maybe if you've got that washcloth or a towel, you're gripping it if your shoulders are feeling tight. Take a breath in, and we're going to lead with our chest again as we fold forward. Letting your chest melt towards your thighs. Letting your hands fall as much as they'd like, feeling that stretch in your shoulder. Releasing through your neck here. Maybe you shake your head a few times no and a few times yes. Drop the bind at any time. And then release your hands here. We're going to come onto our back. Well, onto our bum, I should say. We're going to come into a boat pose. So we're going to build up some fire, some tapas, in through our core here. So lots of ways that this can be done. So figure out what level works for you. Listen to the body that you brought here today. So we're going to start here You can have your hands placed, fingertips facing towards your bum. We're leaning back, and you want to lean back until you feel some engagement light up in your low belly. And you can have your feet on the ground, and maybe here you're feeling it. And this is working your core and your inner unit to support your torso and keep it up. Maybe you can elevate your heels. Maybe it's just low, maybe it's one. Right? Maybe you can alternate a few breaths here and there. Maybe you can bring both your heels up. And then maybe you can even bring up your arms. So you just stick at the level that works for you. And if you go one level up, you're like, oh no, it's not accessible for me today. Then you just bring your hands back down, bring your feet back down. Find your edge, because all of our edges are going to be different. And then we're going to exhale. We're going to straighten our legs for heels to hover, shoulders off the mat. This low boat pose. And then exhale, come back up. And remember, this can be taken even with hands down. Bending through your arms, triceps, and back up. So find what works for you. Let's try again. Low to high. 2 more. Maybe you're just holding your boat pose and you're doing an awesome job. 1 more. Hug your knees in. We're going to roll onto our backs for a moment. And you can maybe hug your knees in. Give yourself a little spinal massage here. Maybe rock side to side. And we're actually going to meet in a downward facing dog. So you might rock and roll yourself up, plant your hands, and step those feet back. However you want to get there. We're going to come into a half pigeon. So right foot will come up to the sky again, toes pointed down. You're going to bring your right knee behind your right wrist and inch your left leg back behind you. And you want to keep your right foot flexed, toes drawing in towards your shin to help protect your knee. Now for me, I always need to think about my hips in this pose before I hinge forward. So you want to think about drawing your right hips back for the back of your mat and your left hip down. So take a breath in, open up that front body, and then you start to walk your hands forward in front of you. Maybe you got a block or your blanket here to support your forehead or your chest. Okay? Maybe you're bringing your chest and your forehead all the way to your mat. Our muscle tissue is surrounded by a type of connective tissue called fascia. And over time, just through our living moments or through other types of exercises, we can get these sticky knots in our fascia. And the only way to release them is through holding certain shapes for an extended amount of time, like 90 seconds at least. So when we get to a part of class, and many times it's a hip opener, and we're staying there for a while, a couple of things can happen. One, it can feel physically uncomfortable because we're moving into our deeper layers of tissue. So you need to listen to your body. We're not going for any type of pain. So there's a difference, right, between discomfort and pain, and only you can tell that difference. So if you need to back out of a pose, if this shape hurts your knee, then you can lay down and take a figure 4 on your back, or a different variation of a shape, a hip opener that you know works for you. Another thing that might happen, again, is we're uncomfortable, and so our mind starts to take over. And a lot of times, friends, that's the work. That's the work that we're doing in these poses. We're bored, or we're uncomfortable, or we don't want to be doing this anymore. How can I fidget? Let me fix my hair. Let me get my towel. So my question to you, if that's happening to you at all, can you stay? Whatever you're going through right now, a little physical discomfort or mental, can you stay for 5 more breaths? Soften your jaw, relax your face. And slowly start to walk your torso back up. Curl that back toe. We'll come into our last downward facing dog. Take a moment to notice how it feels. And then using your core, you'll draw your left knee up behind your left wrist, walking your right leg back behind you. Again, if you're anything like me, you need that reminder about your hips here. So this time you're going to draw your left hip back to the back of your mat. And you're going to draw your right hip down. We'll take a breath in. And then you start to hinge forward. And if you took a different shape for your hip opener, then do that same variation for your other side so that we can have balance. And again, just remember going into it that a lot of the work in these poses that we're holding is mental and emotional. And that's okay. And this is the type of stuff that we practice on our mats that we can then use off of our mats. The ability to experience uncomfortable things and not have to immediately run away. To be okay with being a little uncomfortable or doing something that you don't really want to do. Because I would say that a lot of adult life is doing things you don't totally want to do. Or at least occasionally. Notice how your body's feeling. See if there's anywhere that you're clenching or tensing up. Let that go. And then revisit your intention. Bring the word or the phrase to the front of your mind. You've got 5 more breaths. Slowly start to walk your torso up. We'll swing our right leg to the front of our mat to meet our left. The legs are long. I've got this nice bend in my knees here. Heels pressing gently down into my mat. Inhale, reach up, and then exhale. Gently soften for a seated forward fold. We'll sit back up. We're going to make our way onto our backs. So option to grab the back of your knees and roll down. Option to take it vertebrae by vertebrae. How slowly can you come all the way onto your back? Nice job. Bringing in the moments of fun anytime we can. We're going to come into a spinal twist here. So if you have a variation that you prefer, freedom to do it. I'm going to take a variation that's going to focus on my hips too. So I'm going to take this figure four here. My right ankle is crossed above my left knee. Left foot is flat on the floor. I'm going to lift up my hips and scooch them about 2 inches to my right. And then I'm going to let my left foot fall towards the floor. So my whole hip leg unit rotates to the left. It might be helpful for you to have a block here for your foot to land on. Or again, if there's a different variation of a spinal twist you'd like to take. You might have your arms out at a T. I'm actually going to bring my hands, interlace my fingers, and use them as a little pillow for my head today. Doing this helps remind me to keep both of my shoulder blades plugged into my mat. You can soften that space between your eyes, maybe even gently close them. Draw your right hip down towards your mat. Notice the sensation. Option to take your left hand and grab for your right ankle. See if that changes anything. 3 more breaths here. Release the ankle. If you were holding it, we'll lift that whole unit back up. Both feet on the floor. This time, left foot will cross above the right knee. I'm going to lift and shift 2 inches, and then allow my left foot to travel to the right side of my body, landing on the earth. And again, always the option to use your block to bring the earth closer to your foot. I'm going to start with both hands behind my head here. This side feels much different than my other side. Do you notice a difference? And then again, option to take your right hand on your left ankle. See if you notice sensation, change. And we'll stay here for 3 more breaths. And then after those 3 breaths, release your ankle. Come back to a spine flat on the ground. If there's any other shape that you want to take, whether it's waterfall with your feet up in the air, happy baby, if something's calling to you, you take it. And when you're ready, we'll meet in Shavasana. Legs out long on your mat. Arms down at your sides, palms up, facing the ceiling. Eyes can rest. Let your body feel like it's melting into the floor. From your heels, your calves, back of your legs, glutes, your spine, from your tailbone all the way up to your neck, the back of your head, your arms, your fingers. Now is your time to rest. Wherever you're at, come back to your intention. The setting of an intention is something that you can do outside of your yoga practice. Do this as part of your morning routine. And did you pick a word that you want to align with, a feeling? Maybe it was what you intend to accomplish. Use the positive language. I will be present today. I will practice patience. Whatever your word or phrase was, hold it in the front of your mind. Option to place one hand on your heart and one hand on your forehead as you think of your intention. Feel the energy behind it. And then you can gently start to move your fingers and your toes. You can rotate your wrists and your ankles. Maybe you stretch your fingers and toes wide and let them relax. Stretch your hands over your head for a good morning stretch. Toes pointed. And then you can roll to your right or your left side, coming into a fetal position, using your bicep as a pillow. Put one hand on your heart here. And take a moment to say thank you to yourself for showing up, for setting an intention, for putting your focus and your attention on something that you want, getting some energy behind it. And using your hands, you'll press the earth away from you as you return to a seated position that we took at the beginning of class. You can keep your eyes closed. You can bring your hands to heart center. Let's take 3 big breaths together. Breath in through your nose. Open your mouth, let it out. Good, 2 more, nice and loud. One more time, you got this. You can bring your thumbs to your third eye, the seat of your intuition and all-knowing. The light and love in me sees and honors the light and love in each of you. Thank you for sharing your practice with me today. Namaste. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.